Sawadee Krap, hello and welcome to another Victor Black Masterclass video. In today's video, we are going to be discussing the use of tracking tools and the relationship between the various tools that we utilize to track our progress against our plan and ensure our relentless progression. So let's get started with the video. There are a number of tools that we use to track our progress in this game. These are the recommendations that I make both to masterclass members and to one-on-one hands-on coaching clients. Let me just basically start by running through the tools that I typically recommend. I believe that you need to have a nutrition tracking tool. There are a number in the market. My preference is a tool called Cronometer. If you work with me one-on-one coaching, that is the tool we will use. Most people are familiar with a tool called MyFitnessPal. It certainly has the market share. It certainly has the mind shares there. It's a very good little tool. It basically works similar to Cronometer in so much as that you enter into the tool what you consumed on a daily basis. Now, why would we choose Cronometer over MyFitnessPal? Quite bluntly, because MyFitnessPal is exactly what it's supposed to be. It's a consumer level, free, although there is a paid upgrade tool, designed for the general public. Cronometer, however, is a professional tool intended for dietitians and nutritionists. It's a little bit more granular. It produces the capacity to make custom reports in terms of tracking various parameters, including biometric data, including customized biometric metrics. Whatever you want to track, basically, from a nutrition or biometric point of view, you can do it in Cronometer. This is a tool we use on an every single day basis. We also need to track our volume load progression over time. Yet again, there are a number of tools in the market that do this. I make two recommendations. If you're an Android user, I recommend a free product called Fitnotes. And if you are an Apple user, I recommend a product called Heavyset. Now, be very careful. The Heavyset, there is a Fitnotes product for Apple. It's a different product, and it's horrible, to be honest with you. I've had lots and lots of people over the years hear me talk about Fitnotes, and they try it for their Apple, and that's not the program I'm talking about. Fitnotes is Android only. If you're an Apple user, I recommend Heavyset. And both of these tools basically do the same thing. They track our daily performance in the gym in terms of weights, reps, sets, our daily activity in the gym. And yet again, allow us to produce very nice, very easy to understand graphical reports of progression, volume, load over time blocks by body part, which is very important to us. We also need to have the capacity to take digital photographs and ideally also to be able to take digital video at some point, especially if you want me to look at lifting techniques, if you want me to look at posing, things like that. We need to have video. But most people starting out typically have enough trouble with taking still photographs, so I tend not to be too bullish about video initially starting out. Now, why do we have all these different tools? Quite bluntly, because there is no tool out there that does everything I want. I would love it if there was. If there was a tool that did everything the way it needs to be done, I would be a huge advocate of it, and I would switch to it tomorrow. But it does not exist. I have looked and looked and looked at a practical price point. These tools, as I said, Fitnotes is free. I think Heavyset is $10 for a year. I think that's what it costs. Cronometer is $35 for a year. There's a free version, there's a gold upgrade, well worth the money for the gold upgrade. If you're a one-on-one coaching client, I give you a free upgrade to the gold version as a coaching client. Okay. Now, all of this data that we collect daily needs to get fed into our client dashboard, and I use the product Airtable to do that. So I just want to explain why we do these things and explain what I look at as the coach. You need to be across all of these things. This is your program. This is your journey. You need to be across what you're doing on a daily basis nutritionally. You need to be across your biometric data on a daily basis. You need to be across your training outcomes on a daily basis, and you need to be across your video still photographs on a daily basis. But we need to feed that into a mechanism or a tool that allows me as your coach to be able to relatively simply see what you're doing at a 30,000 foot view. And what I mean by that is, if you consider pretty much anything we do, Nothing happens in our world in a truly linear fashion, neither muscle growth nor fat loss. Okay. There is a degree of daily undulation in pretty much everything we do in terms of scale weight, in terms of performance in the gym, in terms of pretty much everything. There is a degree of daily undulation. Now, I do everything in my power, all right, everything to minimize that undulation. This is why I am not a fan of many of the tools that are used by the general public, okay, because they create daily undulation that make it very difficult to track what's happening. This includes a simple example, things like high and low days of carbohydrate intake. Not necessarily, I don't think there's no place for it. I certainly recommend it for very advanced trainers. It's a tool we use. But for intermediate level trainers, all it does is add very little in terms of benefit and a greater degree of complexity into understanding on a daily basis how you're progressing, because things like the scale weight will undulate daily as the calories go in and the calories come out. You'll see your scale weight fluctuating up and down. You'll also see, surprise, surprise, probably your performance in the gym undulating as well. So the whole point here is this, and that is from an individual point of view, from you as the athlete point of view, right? You are going to basically have undulation in your day, right? From one day to the next. As the coach, I'm interested in taking a step back and focusing on trends, okay? What happens over a 3-month time block is profoundly important to me. What happens over a 3-day time block is less important to me. I'm still interested in what happens over 3 days, but I'm more interested in the trend over time. If we want to grow skeletal muscle tissue, I would set a goal of saying, okay, so many pounds of skeletal muscle tissue a month. And then what we need to do is make sure that we are relentlessly progressing against that goal month after month after month after month. So my point is that this here is for me to be able to step back and take a trend view of everything that you're doing. These tools are daily tools, okay? This is more of a weekly tool, agreed, but I'm interested in the trend over time, as well you should be too, okay? So in my opinion, you need to look at these things, but you also need to collate them together, gather them together, present them in a fashion that you can show another professional or show someone that's experienced in this space and cut to the chase. I repeat, I do not want to look at a wall of data when I'm looking at reps and sets, and it's impossible to decipher it. You could get to the bottom of it, after a period of time, but I want to see your volume load progression by body part over a time block represented graphically. Okay. I want to see your scale weight. I want to see your caloric intake being driven up. I want to see all of these things in a graphical sense. So at a glance, we can look at that and say, great, you are on track. Bang. Right. If we start to see flattening of curves, if we start to see basically stalls, again, we look to these things visually. It's the easiest, simplest way to track these things is visually. So this is the relationship between all these tools. These activities, these tools here are daily tools for you. Every single day, you need to enter your data into these tools. This tends to be a little bit more weekly, and depending on what you're doing with posing and let me take some video of my squat and show you my squat and my deadlift and see what you think. That tends to be a little bit more intermittent. And all of these things then feed into Airtable so that whoever is coaching you, in this particular case, myself, right, is in a position to be able to look at everything in one place at one time. The analogy I like to use is, there was a time when small businessmen would, at the end of tax year, go to their accountant with a shoebox full of fucking receipts, stick it on their accountant desk, and the accountant would go through the shoebox full of receipts and do their tax for them. You will not find a professional accountant today that will work under those conditions, right? They'll just tell you to bugger off, right? You need to keep your business records, professionally, okay, if you want to work with a professional accountant. And it's the same with coaching, okay? I don't want to see scribbles of paper and handwritten notes in training journals and things like that. It's 2020. We have fabulous tools that we can use collaboratively, over the internet, and we should be taking advantage of those. We should be leveraging those. So hopefully, after this video, you will understand what is the relationship between these 3 tools or 4 tools, and you'll understand where you will see the value in them. Cronometer, Fitnotes, heavy set, daily basis value. Airtable is the big picture. It's the long-term trend that we need to focus on. Are we progressing? Okay? That's it for today's video. I look forward to seeing you at the next Victor Black Masterclass. Sawadee.